What's up, dude? South Texas Banshee. Still wearing the hat 'cause it's still hot down here in Texas. But hey, it's been a long time. Getting ready to tear a motor down for a customer out of Washington, I believe. I've done tear downs before. I know y'all have already seen them before, but hey, every motor's different, so you never know. This one's going to be a 4 mil. Don't know if it's going to be a stock seal. Don't know if he's going to do a serval cub. We're not sure yet. It's still up in the air. But anyhow, my son over here, he's going to be the cameraman for me. So we're going to start tearing this thing down, see what we find in there. And we're going to keep doing updates on the engine, on the build from start to finish. And let's get started. All right, dudes. So we're going to start. He sent the engine complete with the carbs and everything on it. He wants me to go through the carbs and go ahead and kind of jet it as close as I can. Even though I'm 2,000 miles away, I'm going to get him in the ballpark. That way he doesn't have to, you know, have such a hard time trying to get dialed in. So these are just the stock carburetors and all that good stuff. So we're going to go ahead and just get these out of the way. We're going to pull the crossover tube, the intakes. We'll pull the stator cover off, and we'll just go from there. And we'll see if we see anything different in this engine that we've, other than what we've torn down before. And I'll call out, you know, tools as I go, what you'll need. Of course, these are Phillips. You got a Phillips screw right here for factory clamps. You're gonna have a Phillips on there. I'll spin her around. We'll have another Phillips right here. Just loosen it up, and they'll come right out of there. Usually when I tear a motor down, I have what I call my little tear down table. I'll just put everything on the table. That way it's easy to keep track of. And then what I'll do when I'm done is just put everything in a bin, just like that, and put a lid on it. Okay, back to the engine. All right, so now we're going to pull the crossover tube. You don't really have to pull it off, but he's going to be changing the entire intake setup, so I'm just going to do it like this so it's a little easier to box everything up. Now we're going to take our intakes off. You're going to need I believe it's a 5 millimeter. Yeah, it's a 5. So we're going to go ahead and buzz these off real quick. And I'm not going to put you guys through the agony of watching me take every bolt out. I'll buzz them out. You'll probably see me take out 2 top. They fell right off. There was no sealant on there, which a lot of times there's not. I don't use sealant on there unless it won't pass the leak down the first time. There's no need to go gooping everything up if you don't need to. Set that intake on the table. See, that popped right off. They haven't even been cut yet for aftermarket reads, so this motor's probably never been into. Well, it has been into somewhat, because if you look right along here, this isn't factory for sure, so it has been into. All right, so we'll continue. Pull the reeds. Reeds look fine. This one does have sealant on the back side of it. I think it's stuck like that. Just take your rubber mallet, dead blow or something, and just pop it loose. It'll come right loose. There we go. These look fine too. Alright, now we're going to go ahead, spin back around. We're going to go ahead and pull this stator cover off, which he's already had it off. He pulled it off to pull his chain off, so this should come right off. Excuse me. Uh-oh, my drill's going dead. Pull that off. I'll leave the bolts in it. Just go straight to the table with it. Now we're going to pop this flywheel off. My battery for my small Cobalt just quit working on me all of a sudden, so now I've got to switch back and forth between my big battery and my small battery. I don't know what happened there. Flywheel is a 17 millimeter flywheel nut. You know what I mean. flywheel tool also is going to be a 17. Well, most of them are. And you want to be sure these threads are clean and these threads are clean to be sure you don't strip this tool out. A lot of guys message me and they say, hey, my tool's stripped, trying to pull my flywheel off. You need to be sure that this thing screws in plenty of turns. Sometimes they'll screw in 1, 2, 3, and then they'll start getting real tight. You need to go ahead and hold this with a strap wrench, hold it with something, and wrench this in good and tight, or reach in there with something to get it kind of clean. You know, blow it out with an air gun, whatever you got to do. A small wire brush, like a toothbrush size, get it clean. Be sure you get plenty of rounds in there. Like, see how this went in quite a bit? That should be fine. And we're gonna buzz this off the same way. That's it. Go ahead and back my tool out so it'll be ready next time. And then we just take this loose. Oh, we got a nice looking OEM stator there. I believe he was thinking it was aftermarket. I think I may have read wrong his note. And this flywheel, when you shake it, if you shake one and you hear anything in there, what happens is these rivets, am I too close? These rivets start to come loose, and that's where you get flywheel rattle from. There's nothing in here that's going to rattle. If you hear anything rattling, it's just these rivets. So you can shake it, hold it tight here, don't touch the center of it, just shake it. If it's silent, you're good. If you hear any rattle, I would just advise getting something different. Switch back to my other gun. Now we're going to pull a stator off of there. Provided, given you've got stock bolts on your stator, OEM bolts rather, not a high performance bolt. they're going to be a 10. Oh, yeah, they got Loctite on these. That's a good thing. Okay, get that socket on it. Good. Okay, that one came out. That one came out. My socket's pretty worn out. It's time for another 10mm. You know how often these 10s get lost. I've had this one for a long time, many years. If you look at the edge of it, you can tell it's beveled, it's been beat on, it's been used for stuff it shouldn't be used for. Had it a long time, so it's time to retire it. It served its purpose. And then we'll just pop the stator out. It came right off. Sometimes you'll have to pry it. Just reach back, just give it a little pry. The stator looks really nice, and if you look at these wires, that's the only thing not nice about it. It's terrible. So I'm going to go ahead and replace this for him, and he'll be good to go. So we're going to reach in here and just pop this boot off. You just reach back there, reach back through here, and you just take you can almost do it with your finger sometimes. Sometimes it's a little harder. You can take a flat head and just kind of push down the edge of it, and it'll just push right through there. And if you've got your factory connectors on there, you have to pull one through first before the other to get it all to fit. But this stator looks really nice. So he's good to go there. He just saved some money there without having to buy a stator. So we'll go ahead and take this gear off of the output shaft. And these gears here, these nuts have this tab folded against there. It's a lock washer to keep it from coming off. So a lot of times these aren't even that tight once you get this lock washer off. But all you do is take and flatten it out. Just like that. It doesn't have to be perfect. You can get it about like that. And like I've done before, said before in my videos, you can take your socket and then just give it a few good whacks, and then it'll flatten it right out. And then you can take it off. Switch back to my big gun. This socket is a 32mm. If you're looking to get a socket before you tear it down, if you need one, you can also use a 1 1/4. And this here, I'm gonna hold it, see if I can get it loose. And you don't have to pull this off. Oops. You don't have to pull this off if you're splitting the cases. You can do it later. I'm just doing it now to go ahead and get it all torn down. We'll pull this bushing out. Sometimes these bushings have wear on them. This one has some wear, but it's fine. Usually what I do, honestly, is when I put them back in, I'll flip them, put them back in the other way, and you're good to go, because this half of the seal here, or this half of the bushing, it's untouched. You can see where the seal rides right there. Those two rings, I don't know if y'all can see that. Well, when you put it in, back in, you can tell if you flip it the other way, it's running on a fresh collar there. So that's good to go. You don't have to go and replace it. I've had them leak before, and I'll just pull the thing off. I'll pull the dang the sprocket off, flip the collar, bushing, whatever you want to call it, put it right back in, good to go, even with a used seal. But if you're rebuilding your motor, definitely use new seals every time. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and pull the head off, just because, and that's also gonna be a 5mm. I'm gonna go ahead and pull these out, these two bolts here out, because sometimes it's easier just to unbolt it here and lift the head right off rather than loosening up this clamp and fighting with it, wiggling the whole head trying to get this hose unstuck. Sometimes they get stuck there, so you can do either way. If you want to pull the hose off, cool. If you want the head to come off easily right away the first time, not no hassle, then just take these two bolts out right here. They're not tight. Just take those out, and then this here, might have to give it a little love tap. There, come right off. Okay, and then the head nuts, you're gonna have 10. They're gonna be a 12. At the end of this video, I'm gonna put a tool list as to what you're gonna need to tear this engine down, provided everything is OEM. Sometimes it's not a perfect world and you get a motor that someone's put hardware store bolts on, and you may have 13s here or 13s here and so on. This bolt here and the kicker, sometimes people put a regular bolt in there, which from factory you have a 12. This is aftermarket, that'll be a 6. That's no big deal, and I'll include that in the tool list. But sometimes people have to run whatever they can find, which is understandable. Not everybody's got a Yamaha shop close to them, and not everybody has a bucket of OEM bolts like I've got. You know, some people don't do this for a living, so I will put that at the end, or I may even put it in the title, in the description rather, so you can just be sure you have everything on hand, so you don't get started on this and then you're like, oh, I don't have this. So we just pull it off, and I usually like to pull them off in a crisscross order. And the owner of this engine, Matt, he said he bought this like this from an individual up there in Washington, I believe. And I think he said he thought it ran okay or whatever, but he took it out to the dunes up there in Oregon, and it said he was just a dog, and it just didn't run good. We did a compression test on it. The compression was really low, so here it is. Just give it a little tap. None of this stuff really stuck. And the head will come right off. Ooh, looky there. So this engine's been gone through before, like we know already, because it's been sealed up, been resealed. And the way we know it's had a top end put on as well, obviously there's a lot of damage here in the squish band area. Well, there's nothing on the pistons at all. So if you had damage here, you're gonna have it on your pistons. So this has been replaced. The top end's been replaced. Also, get a good shot of this. When you get a head like this, I wouldn't use this head. This head, we're gonna go cool head anyway. But if this was, if he planned on going back on with a stock head, I would tell him we're not gonna run this, because believe it or not, this head can cause detonation. All these little pits, some of the edges are really, really small, or they're thin rather. And what happens is they get hot and they glow red, and then the engine begins to work like a diesel. These glowing red edges can set the charge off early, and you get pre-detonation. So that's not a good idea to run a head like that. Okay, we'll get this gasket off of here, and it looks, you can see there's a copper There's a copper look to that gasket. It looks like they may have used copper coat on there. So, okay, now we're gonna go ahead. We'll stop there for a second. We'll stop there for a second and we'll pull the clutch cover off of this thing. But I mean, it's got a stock crank in it. It's got 513s in it. So, okay, let's go ahead and pull this off. The stainless bolt, if you've got the stainless on your kicker, it's a 6mm. The bolt has to come all the way out for the kicker to come off because there's a groove in the shaft there. This will pull right off. If it doesn't want to pull right off, take a flathead, stick it right in here, wiggle it, or take a flathead, tap it in just a little bit, it'll spread it, and it'll come right off. Get a shot of our parts table here, what we got accumulating so far. While he's getting a shot of that, I'm going to gather what I need for here. Alright, now we're going to pull the clutch cover off, and more than likely, these bolts are going to be a little tough to get off, depending on how they were put back in. We know it's been into already before, so maybe whoever put it together didn't get them real tight. So I'm going to try with the biggest Phillips I have. And no, they're not moving. This one will. My drill's halfway dead, or I'd be using my drill right now. See which ones of these I can get loose and go ahead and get out. We're going to be going back with a stainless kit on this engine, so none of these bolts will be reused. More bolts to go into the used pile. Yeah, might be okay. These aren't that bad, so we may be able to get that other one out without having to use the impact driver. You got some right here. Let's go ahead and get these all broken loose. This one here, we're gonna need the impact driver. That one there, we're gonna need the impact driver. And that one there, so. We'll get out the handy dandy impact driver. We're gonna use the biggest one we have because it fits the best. And we're gonna be sure that it's in reverse. Take and push in on it, it should spin backwards, see there? Okay, so I'm going to set my engine down, and we want to give it a good, one good whack. This hammer is not real heavy. It's been a mess all year long, so I couldn't even find my bigger hammer. So what I'm going to do to get a better lick on these bolts, I've got a hole drilled in my bench because I used to use it for transmission work. What I'm going to do is lean this engine over, put that crank snout in there, and spin it around this way, and hang that shifter shaft off of the bench. Now I'm going to let my cameraman come around this side. He'll get a good shot of those bolts, and now I can whack them pretty hard. Alright, now, and just kind of focus in close on those bolts. You should see them break loose. Yeah, that one broke loose. Okay, we're gonna get this one now. This one over here, I may have to end up taking a Dremel and grinding a slot in it. We'll see. Now this one, I think it turned. Yep, that one's loose. Now, let's try this one more time. This one, take a shot of that bolt right on top there. See how stripped out it is? We're gonna try to get that one out. But I may have to take a Dremel and just grind a slot straight across it so I can use a flathead bit and get it out. Alright, let's see what it does. Oh, we got it. Okay. Let's see if my bit for my drill is big enough. Look at it, bent up. See you later, bolt. We don't need that anymore. Get these out of there. Okay. I'll let you get your angle back over here, cameraman. We're gonna go ahead and get this engine back out of this. Set it back down here, and then we're gonna get this clutch cover off. Let me get my little catch pan, catch any oil that comes out of there. All right, now we're gonna pop this clutch cover off. It's glued on, so we got a couple of bolts left here. Let me grab this from you. Got distracted with that one of them. Okay. Now we'll see how tight it's gonna be glued on. All right, come right off. And then I usually reach down inside it. No dipstick. I usually reach down inside here and just pull on this side just a little bit. Tap here. There goes the oil. And it's leaking oil down here, but I've got a little catch can down there catching what's coming out. There we go. We have a busted basket. Look at here. That piece is gone. So let's see. Where is that piece at? Let's get this gasket off of here. Let's tilt it back. Okay, there's no fragments in here. That is a huge piece missing. It's not the only piece. I saw it when I tilted it up. Look here. 2 huge pieces knocked off of that basket, and they're nowhere to be found. The oil doesn't have any metallic in it, so someone broke this basket, took it apart, took the crap out of it, and put it back together like this. That is crazy. That is nuts. Okay. We're gonna go ahead and reach across here. We're gonna pull this kicker gear out of here real quick. Here's the kicker gear. Nothing to it. Let's take it, unhook it, wiggle it out past there. To the parts table. Next is we'll go ahead and pull that clutch or pressure plate off. Let's see, that basket has slack in it, just for the heck. Look at there. This gear and this basket should not move independent of each other. That basket is gone, which we knew it was gone when we saw the parts missing, but just for video's sake, if the basket looked fine, if you have any slack in there, then it's time for a new basket. Poor socket, it's time for a new one. Then to pull this out, you can pull the whole pack, or you can pull it piece by piece if you want, like this, and then pull off the clutch, the fiber. I always just reach in, grab the back of it, pull the whole thing out. Clutches are gone. There's nothing left of them. There's steel. Clutches are toast. Now it's time to pull the basket off. And lo and behold, they don't even have a lock nut in there. So now I've got an impact, obviously, so it's not hard for me to get these nuts off of here. Ooh, another thing, look at the grooves on here. Get a good shot of these grooves. See the grooves on that basket? You hear that? If you ever have a bike that creeps, what it means to creep is whenever you pull the clutch in, it still tries to go forward, or you come to a stop and you put it in neutral, and that thing will not go into neutral to save its life, but the moment you turn the bike off, click, it goes right into neutral. This is what happens. This is the reasons for it right here. This basket gets grooved. Also, if you look at the little grooves on the inner hub, the hubs usually don't groove out as bad, but that's the culprit, and I'll show you why. what happens. So you've got your clutches that sit like this, and then you've got a steel. Get on now. I'm just going to show two for now. Okay, so when you squeeze and release your clutch, you squeeze it, the pressure plate moves out, so it allows your clutches to relax. Okay, but what happens is they work sort of as a ratchet. Focus right here. That's good there. So they can't slide freely because they're hanging. See there? They're hanging on those grooves. So when you release the clutch, whenever you release the clutch, they get hung on those grooves. They can't slide properly, so the clutch doesn't truly disengage because they're ratcheted in. So if you ever have a bike that won't go in neutral, that's what the problem is. Replace that basket. Now, I have an impact like I was saying a while ago, so what I always do to pull this nut off is I'll just hold in the center with a rag. If you don't have one, you're doing this with hand tools. I made a little homemade tool. Nothing fancy at all. I made it at the drop of a hat. It's just an old screwdriver welded in between two clutch steels. Like this. That's all it is. So instead of buying a holding tool, now I have one. So if I wanted to use it now, instead of using a rag, I would just stick it on like I did. And that's it. You don't need to go buy it. You don't need to go buy a high dollar tool when you can make one at home if you got a welder. If you don't have a welder, take a flathead, take whatever you're going to use and a steel down to a welding shop, and they'll probably make it for free because that's all they got to do is touch it. That's it. Now we're going to pull the inner hub. Okay, behind the hub is a washer. I feel like a broken record. I've done this before, but hey, like I said, you never know. Behind the basket, you're going to have this bushing. Behind the bushing, you'll have one more washer. All right, now this right here, this plate, my gloves don't fit my fingers. This plate here, leave that on there. If you have this half clip looking deal that bolts on here and here, you're gonna have to take that off to get the cases separated because one bolts to the bottom half and one bolts to the top half. This plate here, if you take it off, put it back on, because what happens is, try to focus back here. There is, it's too dark. There's two holes in the case. Well, what this does is it catches slung oil. Go ahead and zoom back. What this does is it catches slung oil, slings it up, hits the clutch cover, hits up here, and it falls down behind here. And this plate here, it directs oil into the case up on top of the main shaft. So you do need this plate. Will it work without it? Probably. But again, your transmission is not going to be getting the proper oil. Okay, next we're going to pull the shifter shaft out and literally just pull it out. That's all there is to it. We're going to pull the idler gear. This idler gear is really nice and snug like it should be. If you have one that's just super wobbly, then the bushing is bad and needs to be replaced. All there is on here is this snap ring here. You get the snap ring off. Behind the snap ring, I call it the D washer because it looks like a D in the inside. And you can pull the idler gear off. Behind the idler gear is going to be another washer. Maybe on back of here. Here it is right here. It goes in that order. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and pull the primary drive gear off, water pump gear, since we're on this side already. That's going to be a 15/16. I believe it's a 27. Pull that right off. It should slide right off. Yeah, it slid right off. I don't see noticeable damage on the crank seal or nothing like that. Alright, now we're going to go ahead and finish getting our top end off. And again, on the OEM cylinders with OEM hardware, they're going to be a 12 millimeter. They have 4 on each one. Switching over to my small gun. Give me a second here. Get my extension, and then here we're going to go with our 12. So you can get to the ones across the top really easily. And you can get to the other one if you get your socket cocked under just a little bit sideways. I wouldn't really recommend it. I would say use a wrench on it, but I just go for it. And in the center, right here, we're going to have two more. One on this cylinder, one on this cylinder. These are going to be a 12. And you can either use your hand to knock it loose, or if you need extra leverage on it, you don't want to do that, take another wrench, just like this, put it on, and you got your leverage. If you can just get somebody to hold the engine for you. That's why I use my hand. There we go. And we just spin these off. You got a good shot of them. Got enough light or no? Yeah. Sometimes these will come right off. These are going to have to be wrenched all the way off. Okay. And you could go ahead and pull this cylinder off to give yourself some more room if you like. I'm just gonna wait and get them both off. We're almost there, guys. There we go. Okay. Now we'll just pull them off. Sometimes if guys use sealant on here, they're going to be super stuck. Don't beat off with a hammer too much unless it's a dead blow. Of course, my big pry bar is missing. I just used it the other day. All right, so sometimes I had to look for my pry bar. It fell down. My boy found it. Sometimes these are really stuck because people slather on the good stuff, the sealant and whatever they're going to use. You shouldn't need it. You should be able to put them on dry. As long as everything is nice and clean, should be fine. If these are stuck, I mean, you can tap on them a little bit here, and maybe here. I would not, because if you hit too hard and get Western with it, you're going to break this and then you're done. This is what I do. Take a pry bar, reach right here, bust it loose here, and then you can reach under here, flip your bar over, pry up on it, and just get it broken loose. Sometimes these will take you 10 minutes to get these dang things off of there if they're real stuck. And it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be anything you can do to just look real professional about it. You're going to have to get nasty with it, with that pry bar. Just be careful. Be sensible about it. Don't apply too much pressure where you're going to break it here or break it here. What I do is take a rag, stick there, and then I'll pry on it. You know, just use common sense. These are going to come right off, so we're going to go ahead and lift them off of there. There we go. Let's see what these look like. They've had a lot of rust in them at some point. Yeah, this one's trashed. I don't know what got down in there. Actually, it looks like really bad rust pits. We'll get a shot of those afterwards. Pistons are new. They've been recently put in. It looks like, anyway. Get a shot of the side of the piston there. You can see the little ring, the little machine grooves on there. See how they have the little grooves? Well, that means, I mean, the cylinder was in okay shape. I mean, the piston wasn't trying to seize or nothing like that. The rings are free. What these grooves are here is they hold oil on the piston to help lubrication. So, I mean, doesn't look real bad there. The reason for his low compression was most likely that they just ring slapped it. They just threw in a new set of pistons and rings and they didn't hone it. The cylinders are probably egg-shaped. So when you get an egg-shaped cylinder, it's just what it sounds like. Instead of being perfectly round, they're a little out of round, and then you got it compression passing by, you know, an oblong spot. See, this one here is stuck. So I'm just going to take my pry bar, See there? And then right here. There, came loose. They're not always like that. Some are way, way worse. Same idea though. I'm gonna go ahead and set these over here so we can get it tore down. Okay. Now we're gonna go ahead and waft our cir-clips out and hold the wrist pins in. And what I usually do, roll it down, and I'll pull the inside ones out. And you reach in this little groove here, catch it, and walk it right out of there. There's one. And we're going to spin the engine around so my cameraman can see. And we can just spin it around. Reach in, grab it, get your thumb there because it'll fly across the shop. I showed my boy that the other day on my engine. There we go. Landed right here. Not a big deal. It's not. They're not going to be reused anyway, but still. Okay. Now we can take and drive the wrist pin out from the outside rather than having to try to beat through here. That's why I pull the inside ones out. So you can just take a screwdriver, catch the edge of it. And this one's pushed right out. Pull it off. And now we're going to do the same one with the other one. Same thing with the other one, rather. This one's a little tight. And just take and drive it through. And don't beat on it, just tap it. Just get it through far enough it comes out of the rod. A little more. There. Okay, it's almost time to split these cases. Now we're going to go ahead and take this. Well, instead of taking this hose off, I'm just going to go ahead and pop this off of here so we can get this coolant tube out of the case. Let's see, something I want to tell you guys. There's an O-ring here that seals in this clutch cover. You see how they've got a bunch of sealant and stuff in there? Shouldn't need that. If this O-ring, focus back on that O-ring. If this O-ring's in bad shape, what's going to happen is you're going to get water leaking into your transmission, into this side here. So if you get water in here, don't freak out. I had not a customer, but I had a gentleman text me the other day saying, dude, just got my motor together. I'm freaking out. I got water in my oil. I think it's a head gasket, or I think it's, a base gasket. I didn't get it tight enough. I told him, no, don't worry about that. That's not even going to happen because this is the crankcase is completely separate from the transmission. So if you're completely new to this game and you're going to change your oil, when you're changing your oil, you're not changing your engine oil. You're changing your transmission fluid. That's all it is. So back to this. If this O-ring doesn't seal, you'll get water into here. If you replace this O-ring with a brand new one, inspect this right here real good. See how the edges of this are nice and sharp? Both sides of the O-ring channel are nice and sharp. That's what you want. If there's any erosion there, like how aluminum breaks down from over time, or not from coolant and stuff like that. If there's any erosion there, these edges aren't sharp, then just replace this whole tube, because what happens is that O-ring will either sit too deep in there, or the walls will be too wide, and when it goes into the clutch cover, it won't seal tight. Okay, so behind that it's going to be a snap ring. It's covered in all this freaking goop here. We'll just pop that off in order to get it out of the case. Pop it off and just work it forward. Okay, now it'll push right out. Just gotta work it a little bit because of all that sealant they had on there. There, now we have that out of the way, so we're gonna go ahead and take our top case half bolts off. They are all gonna be a 10 millimeter. We'll start, I guess we'll start here, cameraman. That one felt like it might have been cross-threaded. Oh, they had sealant down in there, so we need to. The thing is, when you get sealant down in there, you need to be really careful when you're sealing your cases and not slop it on too much, because if you get too much sealant and it packs down inside a hole, what happens is it'll basically it'll hydraulic, and when you're tightening that bolt up, that sealant doesn't have anywhere to go, so it can bust out the bottom of these holes here. It'll just bust them right out. You'll hear a pop, and boop, all of a sudden, that's gone. Just be careful. Don't be real careful around those bolt holes there. You don't want to get sealant down in there. Okay, so now we'll go ahead and take the rest out. The clutch arm. You just take this clip right here, this wire. Just pop it up over that little boss. It'll come right out. Now there should be a washer on top of the seal, and there's no washer there. So, try to pop that seal out of there. We'll get it later. Okay, so that washer's missing, so I have to order him one of those, unless I have one in my OEM box. And then we'll go ahead and get the rest of our, and that's coming out way too hard. The rest of our bolts out. They should not be coming out like that. That's how they should come out. They had to bust loose and then just spin right out of there. Okay. Take all these out. And when you put these back in, you don't have to really keep them too much in order because they're only going to go in one spot. It's just, again, use common sense. You have a big long bolt here. Well, you know it don't go there. You try it over here. Better, still too long. So then, try it here. Oh, that's where it goes. Use common sense. That's all it is. I've had guys tell me, yeah, I'll poke them down in cardboard and number them. I said, you don't have to do that, dude. Just use common sense, man. You're making it too hard on yourself. All right, all these are out. Be sure you get these two out. They both have to come out, but a lot of times these can be really caked up if your engine's been running a long time and it's not cleaned well. These can be caked up so much in oil and grease, you'll never know they're there. And you'll be whacking on these cases and prying and everything else, and they won't come apart because you've left that one bolt there. So on top of the case, you're gonna have, oh, there went my clutch rod. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 bolts on top. Caught my clutch rod and my clutch ball and my drip pan. Okay. Oh, and let me see. For those of you that are brand new to this clutch rod was in here, and this clutch ball was in there. When you get this all apart, be sure you tilt this over and get that out. The order is rod, then the ball. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and tilt it over, and we will get the bottom bolts off. Lay it in my hole there. And we'll bust these loose. Well, Matt, it's almost torn down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I think I slipped. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 bolts. Be sure those are all off. Nuts. All right. Now those are all out. Cases are ready to come apart. Set it back down. There's a couple places you can tap on them. You don't want to beat on them. You can tap on them. A little bit of persuasion right here. This corner. If it's not moving, don't hit harder. Just give it a few taps. If you listen, you hear the sound changes coming apart. Look in there. See, they've separated there. And come to the front, we can do the same thing. See them separating. Just keep tapping lightly. Don't hit real hard here because you'll break these for sure. And that's it. Come apart here. Coming apart. So now what we're going to do is we're going to just start lifting the top case off. It won't move just yet, so we're just going to keep working with it. There we go. And it comes off just like that. Okay. So we can go ahead and lift our transmission out of here. Let's take a look at it. My cameraman can see better that way. I'm just doing a quick check, see if there's any busted gears or dogs or anything. I don't see anything. It looks out of the ordinary. So we'll just lift the shaft out Don't lift this shaft out of here and then walk over here, because you're gonna drop your bearings. Slide your bearings off of there so you don't bang them up. And just add it to the table, to the pile. This shaft here will come out the same way. Lift up on it. Just like that. Underneath this large bearing right here is going to be a C-clip in the case, and it goes right in that groove there. Just like that. Okay. Over there. Same deal with these. Go ahead and slide your bearing off. Spin it around. Slide the other bearing off. Now this one has a groove also for a snap ring that sits in the case right there. It's stuck in there. When you put it back on, which doesn't really matter right now, you got to be sure those line up. This groove faces outside. So when your snap ring's stuck in the case like that, just catch the edge of it with a flat head or something, and you can knock it out of there. Sometimes they can be a little stubborn. There it goes. You can take it right out of there. You just want to be sure you're on that snap ring. Don't ding your cases up, because then you can get a leak there. Okay, last but not least, we're going to lift our crankshaft out here. And this rod over here, focus on this rod here. Okay, see the color of this one? It's nice, even color. Nice bronze color. And if you look at this rod over here, look at the complete difference in color in the whole rod itself. See that rod? And then we're going to roll over to this rod. There's a complete difference. This rod's taking a lot of heat. If you look back at your cylinder head that was on like this, you flip it over. Well, actually, okay, I'm wrong. I was thinking that could point to, you know, what was going on here, but the cylinder that failed before was on the left-hand side. So this rod here, apparently at some point, this cylinder is taking some heat, because this rod here is definitely discolored. You know, I would not recommend reusing this rod, because it could be damaged, you know, from the heat and stuff like that. So we're going to go ahead and lift the crank out of there. There's going to be a snap ring in the case here, or a C-clip, snap ring, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be in the case right here. Over here, you're not going to have anything. You'll just have your seal. I think this crank was separating a bit. So I was looking at one of these rods here. One of these looks like it's got a lot of thrust compared to the other. Maybe not. But a lot of times when they try to separate, well, these webs will move away from where they should be on these pins here. And then what happens is they start fitting really, really tight in those cases, and they won't come out. There it goes. Set that aside. Let's see, this crank, you can't reach, you're not going to be able to tell by looking at it, but these pins here, whenever they talk about having a welded crank, what they do is they weld these pins right here. That way it keeps this web from slipping on that pin. But it's highly possible that this crank could be trying to separate some. I would have to put a feeder gauge on the rods and see, but regardless, this rod here is taking some heat, so we're not going to reuse this crank. One of the real common things that can happen on an OEM crank, you have these little locator pins here that sit in these grooves on the cases right here. The gloves keep coming off, sweating. They sit in these grooves here. When you put this OEM crank back in there, if you were to use an OEM crank, say you bought one or you're putting one back together, be triple sure these little pins right here are right there. If you have one right there and you go to put that top case half on, I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen. You're gonna start torquing it, and you're gonna hear crack, and then you're gonna be like, oh, my engine won't turn. You're gonna pull the top case half back off, and this bearing race will be busted. It'll literally be in pieces. So be sure, guys, that these pins are down inside those recesses like that. And this bearing over here has got one as well. All it does is keep the bearing from spinning in the case. It sits right there like that. Now sometimes these pins can even come out of the bearing. If that's missing, what you can do, a lot of people do, you can just, of course, when you put it together, it's going to be spotless. It's going to be clean, I hope. So you can take a dab of silicone that you're using. That's not whenever I say silicone, I mean the sealant, Yamabond. I never use silicone. You can take a dab of Yamabond, put a pea-sized drop right up here on top of each one that's missing a pin or whatever, and then go ahead and put your top case half on, and you'll be fine. It's kind of the same thing as using the as a hot rods crank, using the O-rings. This outside bearing here doesn't have that pin. It's got a really tiny, like, little BB. See there? You can mistake that one. You can mess up there on that one too and not get in the right spot. You need to be sure you get it rolled down. There's a little bitty notch right there in the case. See it? That needs to be rolled down right in there like that. Okay, so we lift this out. Now it's pretty much cleanup time. We're gonna get his cases all cleaned up. I need to inspect these bolt holes and see what I was talking about. Getting sealant down in there. There's a prime example. That's what happened right there on that one. This is a bolt hole, and look at here. All this sealant was stuck to the bottom of that bolt. You see? Oh, nope. That bolt broke off. That one was probably cross-threaded. That's one of the ones that we were hammering on trying to get out. So I'm going to have to try to drill that and get it out with a helicoil, but there's no guarantee on that. So, but anyway, we got this thing tore down, so now it's just time to clean everything up. Let's go over to our table. Get a good shot of that. And we're going to see where this motor's what's going to happen to it. Like I said, he's wanting to spend close to $2,000 on it. He told me, you know, between 15 and 17, you know, got a little bit of wiggle room. So we're going to see. I'm going to go inside and call him and talk to him and throw some prices together and see what we're going to do. But I'm kind of hoping he wants to do a 421 servo because it'd be a really good build for my channel. A lot of guys want to see me build one. A lot of guys want to build one. It's one of the most popular motors out there, in my opinion. So yeah, I'd love to put one together, but it's going to be up to him what he wants to do. If we don't do that, we're going to do a stock cylinder 4 mil. The port work will either be done by Cameron at Redline or Kevin Hurd at Jugs. They got pretty decent turnaround time, or actually a really good turnaround time. And this customer, he wants to ride. It's already, we're in October already. He lives up in Washington. It's getting cold up there already, so he wants to hurry up and get his engine back and get a few more rides in before wintertime sets in. So, yeah, guys, the next video, we're going to be looking a little bit more at the parts, checking for wear, stuff like that. I'm probably going to do one on how I clean all my parts up. It's nothing high-tech. See that pan there under the table? All I do is fill that thing up with gasoline. I dunk my parts in there and switch them around, and then I'll blow them off with an air compressor. That's all I do. I don't have a parts washer. I don't have the room in here for one. Nothing fancy, man. So, oh, there's my SE. Yeah, I heard it at the dunes in Oregon back in February. Not, oh, jeez, can't even think right. July. Yeah. We thought everything was good. Started pumping smoke out the right side, and I thought, well, it's just a crank seal, no big deal. So we got home, and we didn't pull it out of the trailer until last week. Me and my son, my cameraman here, we pulled the engine out of it and got ready to, we were just going to pull it apart, throw crank seals in it and go. Well, it turns out the right side crank bearing just failed completely. It came apart. The outer race was completely gone, destroyed the seal, and it took out one cylinder. So pretty disappointed about that. But gonna go back in with something harder. It'll be a 421. It'll be a 7 mil, maybe a 496, something like that. It happens, man. If it was a brand new crank, I've talked to a lot of people about it, and everybody's saying it was probably just a defective bearing. So it happens. It's the first one that's happened to me, but it happens to everybody at some point, I guess. So I'm gonna quit rambling on. I'm sure you guys are tired of watching. So I'm gonna get my work table cleaned up, fellas. Get my table folded up, get this stuff put in the bin so I can have room. And we'll be back, I don't know, maybe a week, maybe less, with another video. And there'll be more updates coming. So, hey, and that blue Banshee that I tore down on camera a year ago, it's still here. It's almost complete as far as parts. I'm waiting on pipes, wheels, tires, and plastics for it. And then we're going to do a complete assembly on that thing. We're going to do an assembly from bare frame all the way up to the first start. So there's going to be a lot of videos coming over the winter time. So you guys stay tuned. I'm sorry that I haven't been posting lately. I just don't do much in the summertime. It's too hot. I don't have any ventilation in here. But look out, because here they come. It's that time of year. See you guys later. Happy riding. God bless.